Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Before we get started, please share the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast with a friend. Always share the show, and make sure that you're subscribed. Give us a good rating and review. It really helps us climb the charts, and we appreciate it. Today's episode, I am so excited for today's guest. She is a coffee trader and a coffee expert, really. She might get a little embarrassed by me singing her praises, but she's one of the smartest people that I know in the field of coffee and the coffee industry. So I'm very excited to speak to From Ally Coffee. Elena is on the line. How you doing today, Elena?
Hi, Jordan. Thank you for this introduction.
Of course. Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing very well and very happy to be on that podcast.
Yes. So excited to have you on. Listen, Elena, we shared on this podcast some of the audio from your lovely coffee shop down there in Bogota, Colombia. And we got to kind of give the listeners an experience of a morning in a Colombian coffee shop. So that was very, very fun. But let me ask you right off the bat, how is Colombia right now during this pandemic and all this craziness? How is Bogota, the capital city?
Yeah, I do remember that chat, and I do remember well that interview with you. Definitely things had changed from that time. And I think it was in February, right?
Yes.
So Colombia actually entered 20 days, I think, later, entered in the lockdown and the pandemic. And on the March 20th. So we've been almost 60 or 80 days, I think, in the lockdown so far.
Wow.
And many shops and basically all of the retail and cafes and restaurants
all
have
shut
been
down.
shut down, and all shut down, and with limited access, with some curbside services and some takeaways later in April. Right now, it's getting a little bit better. Some of the companies are able to open back again, some not. For example, with our coffee shop here, Tourist Coffee, we decided to shut it down completely because it's actually really hard and difficult to struggle during these periods of pandemic and riots. Because before the pandemic, we had a month of riots, the uprisings.
Wow.
Against the governmental policy on taxes and different
stuff. Oh
stuff.
my gosh! So it's back to back.
So we've been it was really hard for us to make this decision, but eventually it's better for everyone, and we gave an opportunity to our baristas and our employees that we had to stay with us until we were able to make this decision.
Wow.
And definitely we had to allocate and offer them maybe other opportunities with our partners, other restaurants that were still open. So we were trying to
figure out what's best for everyone.
Exactly. Yeah, to find out where they can start working or doing something similar, or be helpful for maybe our wholesale partners. So it's
adapting. It's tough.
Lot.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, we've been adapting. I think we actually, it was the best decision that we made. And so far we are doing well with our online retail. We are adapting. We're trying to find out some positive ways to overcome and bounce back, and maybe find other niche and find other solutions. So far it's been tough, but I mean, it's better than
giving up,
being than just giving up and just stop the operations, because we cannot get rid and like forget about the producers and the farmers that we work with.
Yes.
I do know that not only us are in this situation. The majority of the big retail companies and very famous here and popular coffee shops had to adapt and actually diversify their services. So some of
Wow.
them tried some things like opening a grocery of the products from same farmers or of the products from nearest local
Right. Yeah,
producers.
we had that here too
Hmm.
because there was a lot of waste, like people were dumping out milk because of the pandemic, but some of the farmers
Yeah,
instead went to sell it themselves basically, and there were all these photos online of people lined up around the blocks trying to get to these farms for this fresh milk. So yeah, it's kind of about adapting and reallocating, and it's scary
yeah.
times, but you're a badass, Elena. So I think that you're going to pull through. Let me ask you this though: what's happening to the coffee industry as a whole, as far as like global coffee supply chains? Are the supply chains threatened? Is there a chance that coffee is going to be hit really hard during this pandemic?
Well, all right. So I don't know if you read this report that um, International Coffee Organization just issued on the May, like middle of May, something like that. So I can tell that the production is actually has been affected a little bit just for the first part of the
Mm.
semester.
Hmm.
But now we are getting back, and since like the coffee organization, International Coffee Organization, is reporting um, the slide or like the decline
Uh huh.
of the decrease of the production globally, like around 3.74%
Mm.
till April. But I can say that for Colombia, we do have like constant reports from our suppliers for Ally Coffee, and it seems that the fly crop, which is called here mitaka, is very promising, and
Ooh,
in all the regions, yeah.
that's good.
So I don't think that Colombia is like running back or like running late with the supply, although we experienced some delays until April. But right now we can see that the weather is improving, and basically the main probably difficulty right now is the shortage of the labor, which has been always an issue in Colombia, and I think that in many countries, but
Mm.
specifically in Colombia because it's manually picked coffee. So
Need all those
you
pickers,
need
right?
more.
And the pandemic has disrupted that
Exactly.
heavily, right? Oh.
So yeah, so we had like there was a lockdown between all the counties and municipalities in Colombia. Like 32 municipalities were over 32 departments. Sorry, they were isolated from each other. So the only labor force available were the people who were within the department and could have moved somehow from place to place with some limitations. Although the supply coffee chain um, had an ease from the beginning on the operations. So people could have moved from place to place, but anyways, the people, they were
Mm.
frightened at the beginning,
Yeah, totally.
and still there
Everyone
is
froze. Yeah.
more risk. So I think that the main difficulty right now is just the limitations of the logistics, the um, moving people from place to place, and the people just being, a little bit frightened about the
Right.
getting sick.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm thinking that it doesn't sound, specifically in the world of coffee, it doesn't sound like too much damage has been done yet. But I imagine that if this were to continue for a long, long time, we might be seeing more, noticeable damage. But would it be a fair statement to say that coffee farmers, coffee producers are struggling, but they're keeping up with global demand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
No, the people are motivated, and they do know that. Well, basically, the country's national product,
Yeah, exactly. Main export.
the
This
main
is your bread and
exactly
butter
is
in
the
Colombia.
Exactly, bread and butter for everyone here, and that's why the government had to take this very risky decision from the beginning to make an ease and make a specific security measurements, take specific security measurements
Just for
with
coffee.
FNC and for, yeah, exactly,
Wow.
Federation. They were working all together to create this better conditions and healthy conditions for all the participants of the coffee supply chain and all the agronomy industry
Mm.
um, participants,
Th-
members. So
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 fascinating.
yeah, so far it looks more robust, and the people are still working. The National Federation of Coffee Growers in Colombia are motivating and issuing every day like the results on how the coffee has been delivered to their collecting points, and incentivizing the producers to obviously take the biosecurity measurements, but deliver the coffee, because the futures contracts are still have to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so far that has been like the main concern from the federation, that the people keep on delivering the coffee.
Right.
And since we have here the indigenous communities that are obviously more concerned about their state of health, and they're trying to isolate completely from any intervention from outside.
Wow.
And even some of the territories are actually, they're split it. So even though for example our partner farm is not within inside the indigenous community territory, he couldn't get to his farm because the indigenous community would block the
Wow.
road.
That is
So
fascinating.
yeah, so that was like right now it's a little bit easier, and people are more calm and looking for options to get to their farms and explain and like try to um, fulfill the security health measurements.
Right.
So yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, that's crazy. I'm glad that we came and we got to spend time there when we did, and I look forward to when all this is eased up, so we can
Oh
come down and
yeah.
visit again. But it sounds like it's pretty wild down there. How is demand doing? I know, for instance, here I want to say that coffee consumption has gone up because everybody is stuck at home. Have you seen that as far
Hmm.
as your coffee trading? Have you seen that in Colombia?
On the national market, I can say that people are still consuming coffee. They at some point from the at the beginning, there were like three waves, I think, of
People were
yeah,
stocking
three
up, weren't
waves
they?
of exactly. So
Yeah.
they at the beginning, like in March, people were thinking that, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, so I have to save money. I don't know if I'm going to be like laid off, or I have to keep up with my savings here. So they were kind of like, for about a month, people were just consuming what they had, and were just like buying the um, most important things and provision. But after, at the end of March, I think the consumption rebounded, and we saw a pretty interesting turn on the household consumption. So the people started consuming coffee at home. Some of them were like, I can see from the Google Trends actually, even
Wow.
that among the Google Trends in like April, there was a huge skyrocketing interest for like specialty coffee and the
Hmm.
specialty coffee tools to prepare at home, to prepare coffee at home.
Love it.
Exactly. So, and the people were actually, I can tell that we had clients buying more exotic coffees and like trying to, get excited about something new, and taste different things, and take more attention to what they're consuming. Like paying more attention to
Yes.
some online webinars and all the series of lectures that many people were giving like for free in talks. So I think that actually helped a lot to
Jeez, that's interesting.
maintain and to at some point skyrocket the consumption of the specialty coffee and mainly like the exotic stuff.
Nice. I know I've been drinking a ton of coffee because I'm just at home so much. I just find myself refilling my cup. I want to ask you though, kind of virus pandemic aside, or maybe you can include it. Just give me your thoughts on where you see coffee going in the next 5 to 10 years. We've seen these evolutions, right? Away from the family instant coffees towards the next wave, your Starbucks. Now you're getting all these specialty brands, as you said. Health focused always gets us very excited here at the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast. Where do you see coffee going in the future?
Well, I think that we can talk about the constant evolution in the coffee industry, like we have experienced in specialty coffee, like from transactional to actually relationships. So I think that's going to be more profound. And I think we're gonna, as an importer, talking like from the side of the importer, I think we'll be more experiencing more B2B business and direct relationships, direct contact at least with our producers, and more focus from our side on service and help to grow the industry on the whole. But I think that if all this unpredictable stuff that happens right now is actually pushing the industry out of the boundaries,
Wow.
So I think that people will still drink more and more coffee. I think that they will pay more attention to what they're drinking, and probably, obviously, they're going to turn at some point to more comfortable coffee consumption as well, as long as it's remains within their values and quality understanding. So I think that the future for, let's say, instant coffee is looks really promising. And and I think that at some point we will see more roasters from the coffee producing countries. We will see more specialty market growing also in the coffee producing countries.
Oh, I like
That's what
that.
I can observe, because here in Colombia, you can tell that we have lots of brands here, lots of companies, and even the companies that were founded by the producers, or the roasting companies, or like the coffee business that grew out of a collaboration between the producer and the roaster or the importer.
That's really
So
interesting.
I
Yeah, I
think
would
that
love to see the farmers roasting their own beans. That's a great idea.
yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's what we were working on as well as a tourist coffee. We've been working on the setup of the plant, the roasting facility that will meet the expectations for like organic coffee
Wonderful.
roasting.
That was going
And
to be my next question.
it's
Is this organic
mhm.
label and the word regenerative even now coming up? Do you see more and more promise in that? That's where it seems to be heading to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the importance of the regenerative farming and the organic farming and all the best practices for coffee production and in general farming is very concerning, and like it's growing day after day. Because even right now in this pandemic, that we have experienced an improvement on the environment situation, like the contamination actually got really down, and everyone is talking about that recently a lot, about the CO2 neutral, about the reforestation, about the best practicing and
Right. Get the
practices
conversation
for
going, right? That all ties in.
exactly. So now people are not worried. Well, I mean, the estate farms, for example, single estate farms that we are familiar with, and we know that there is more traceability from that farms, and more, in terms of like communication, in terms of all these data that they can provide
Mm.
on the analysis of their soil, on their fertilizers composition. That has been growing really steadily, and I think that more people who has this opportunity to at some point get certified, at least rainforest, I think they will opt for this opportunity. And then the maybe the farmers that are, like neighbor farmers to single estate that already were certified, will try to stick to those
Mm-hmm.
single estates to get also certified, and to get not only certified but also to learn and get along with this organic practices,
Yes.
since it's been really it's been really helpful to, like, for everyone.
I love hearing that. This is what excites me the most. And you're right. It's definitely about the certification. It's about the level of quality. But what's really interesting is these farmers dig into the science. Really, I mean,
Hmm.
it's ancient practices a lot of the times. But when they dig into the knowledge and the science behind regenerative farming, they seem to get really, really excited. And that's exactly what I've observed too.
Yeah, absolutely. And since there is more information and more access to that information, thanks to also the this let's say hype, in the best way of
Exactly.
saying that,
Yeah.
um,
That's what
like
that's what pushes the
people
trend
are
forward,
trying
right?
to
Exactly.
communicate. Exactly. Yeah, because people before, they were just like, they were interested in certification because this is how this certification was communicated and transmitted to them. Not
Right.
just, it was transmitted to them in terms of like, you're going to be paid a little bit better, so you can ensure your crop sold at the better price if you're certified. But I think that in the last few years, like 3 maybe years, the trend has changed, and the communication got more transparent and more clear, that it's
Mm-hmm.
not only about the certification, it's also about the, not being extensively producing in extents, but actually
Mm-hmm.
do it in the quality terms, and like intensively collaborating with
You're
the
speaking my
environment.
language, Elena. You're speaking my language. That's exactly right. And organic certification only covers a little bit of that. It's a bigger picture. It's about
Oh,
reviving
absolutely.
soil and microbiology and all these things. So it excites me so much. I can't wait to get back down there, to get back to the offices, do some coffee taste testing with you, tour the farms.
Hmm.
Once all the craziness is cleared up and we're all back to normal, would you please have us again, Elena? I'd be very honored.
Absolutely, you're always welcome here, and it's always a pleasure to have you and other team members of the purity team, and the clients that actually value a lot the regenerative farming, and actually all of the producers that are working with us, they learned a lot. And now with a new farmer on board, La Pradera,
Oh yeah, we know La Pradera.
they have been, exactly, so they have been applying a lot. They have been paying a lot of attention to all the information we're supplying them on the analysis of the samples, and so far they're all within the requested range. But I think that all of them, they want to improve, they want to,
That's exactly right.
they're looking forward to, some farmers here, they're looking forward to experiment with processing and get like the craziest flavors out of the coffee. But the organic producers, they're looking forward to make it, not only healthiest coffee, but also uh, purest coffee, and
Yes.
with with more like coffee flavors out of that, and more terroir, which is very important to them. So I think that
That's
it's
the
pretty
goal.
exciting
Yeah,
for us
that's
as well
exactly
with
right.
that.
And look forward to a deep dive with Oscar into La Pradera farm in Colombia. All you listeners out there, we have some great footage and we're gonna do some incredible work. Elena, we have to run. I would love to have you back on anytime. I know you're a busy lady. I thank you so much for joining us. Where can my listeners find out more about you and your work? Do you have any social medias or websites you could please give out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me in this podcast.
Oh, it's my
And
pleasure.
absolutely, any next time we can catch up and update our listeners or
Yes.
the audience about the what's going on here. It will be a pleasure, and will be a pleasure always, as I mentioned to you, have you back here in Colombia.
Woohoo!
So to know more about like our life here, the Instagram will be eloc and the dash ru
ELOK_RU.
underscore.
Yes,
Exactly.
perfect. Okay,
Thank you.
everybody give her a follow. Check out Ally Coffee, of course. Tourist Coffee,
Yeah, and
of course.
tourists. Yeah,
Yes, love it.
please give us a follow for Tourist Coffee Roasters. That's our Instagram, and we'll be also updating you guys on our new projects.
On your
very soon.
adventures. Yes, I absolutely
Exactly.
loved spending time with you in that coffee shop, and I look forward to it again. Elena, thank you so much. Thank all you listeners so much. We're signing off. This is Elena and Jordan wishing you an extraordinary day. Be safe out there, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Coffee, Health, and Science Podcast.